Let me start off with a little bit of an introduction of myself. I'm Shaunne Hall. I've been here in Winston-Salem since 1995 when I attended Winston-Salem State. And I received my BA, PS, whichever one. It's been so many years ago, I don't even know which one it was. But I received that in special education and history. I moved on to be a teacher here in the district and started one of the first programs. It was then called Basic Life Skills, which now is called Occupational Course of Study. So it's kind of evolved. After being mentored through the school system and by other colleagues, I was told I see leadership potential in you. And of course, I started at 21. So I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay, I'm a 21-year-old kid teaching, okay? So I fought it for about 3 years, and then I went on to get my master's. Got my master's at Gardner-Webb, went on to get my EDS. I wanted to keep going and get my doctorate, but administration and life happened. We've been foster parents for 17 years and trying to be a foster parent. We adopted two boys. We had two of our own. I didn't have a whole lot of extra time. So one thing had to go, and it was not going to be my husband or my children. Okay, so that was the thing I chose to let go. So I do have that. I have now been in the school system. This is actually, believe it or not, this is my 23rd year. In 7 years, I can do what everybody loves to hear. I can retire. I probably will not. I'll only be 51 years old, and I love doing what I do. This is my second year as a principal. I was at Carter High School for 7 years as an assistant principal. And I was told by a colleague, if you ever want to be a principal, you need to step out and go back to a traditional school. I fought that for a while too. As you see, I'm a fighter. That's what I do. I fight for what I believe is true. So I fought that for about 3 years, and then I said, okay, I'll go on. So I went to Glenn High School as assistant principal for 3 years. Going to Glenn High School let me know not only am I strong enough to become a principal, but I know that I need to go back home to non-traditional. It is just something that is inexplainable to tell you what it feels like to walk through a building every day, and see students that are so happy to be in a building. They are receiving of everything that you have and everything that you're willing to give. Not saying that they don't do it in the traditional schools, but there are so many stressors that students have to go through in the traditional school. They're worried about, oh my gosh, I have to make this 5 on this test so I can get into Harvard. I have to make sure that I do this correctly, or I won't be able to work for my mother or my father, or I'm just trying to be the first person to graduate with a high school diploma for my family. Walking in the building at Carter, our students don't worry about that stress. They're happy to come to a building where people are receiving them with a smile on their face every morning. So when they're getting off the bus, something that Tim Johnson started when he was at Carter, one of the things that we still keep going, when they get off the bus every morning, which is where the majority of our students, we have about 157 students now, and the majority of our students ride the bus. The first thing they hear when they get off the bus is music. And it's all different genres of music, and it's loud. And we love it. And they get off the bus and they're smiling, they're dancing, and if they can't move their arms, we're moving them for them. It also prepares us. It tells us every day at Carter, please leave all of your stresses in your car. And if you have the new age cars and you can push your little button and it says PG, that means when you lock your door, you lock in all of your personal issues. Lock them there, because when you come here, you're here for students. And that's one of the things that we've always promoted. It's one of the things that I talk to the adults about at Carter High School. You'll hear me say C. Douglas Carter, you'll hear me say Carter High School. There are some things that are evolving here at Carter High School now. So when Ms. Blackwater was there, and when Tim Johnson was there, we had about 200 students. Now, we're down to 157. So let me tell you a little bit about Carter. Carter, you'll hear me say different abilities, but some of you all may understand them or know them as disabilities. We take the dis out of all words. So we say different abilities. We have students that are anywhere from ambulatory to non-ambulatory. We have students that are all across the spectrum, the autism spectrum. So we might have some that will come right up to you and say, good morning, how are you doing? And have full conversations with you. And you would never know that they have any type of different ability until you put a test in front of them. Then you have some that are on the spectrum and they're just gonna come up to you and they're just gonna kind of stand there. And you're gonna engage with them. And you'll figure out what they like and what they don't like very quickly with no problems. Our students that come in wheelchairs, I call them their Cadillacs or their Lexus. I give them all different types of names depending on what type they have. Because some of these students, I tell you, they have some of the best wheelchairs that you've ever seen before, known to man. And if you get in their way, they kind of run over you sometimes. We've tried to work on it, but they think it's funny. So we work with our students and getting them from a wheelchair to a stander or to what we call like a rabbit, and that's pretty cool. It has the biggest wheels ever, and actually if they have the ability, they can maneuver on the outside, but they're strapped in at the waist. So we have the opportunity to either help guide them, or if they're still learning, they can still maneuver without them. We have students that are able to read but not comprehend, can do math but could care less about money. They really have no concept of that money value, but they like to have it in their hand, as we all do. You know, I love to have it in my hand, but for some reason my husband says I have a problem of keeping it in my hand. So, I mean, it's the same thing. So we provide the best opportunity for education and life in the district. I often call Carter High School the best kept secret in Winston-Salem. We serve students that are anywhere from 15 to age 22. So believe it or not, they come to us and stay with us for 8 years. So one of the, I guess, the difficult things for me to try to justify with North Carolina DPI is, when they come back this year, they were like, well, your graduation rate is poor. Actually, it's not. It's just our students are allowed to stay in school for 8 years. They're like, but they're supposed to graduate in 4. They're supposed to, but when we think about the resources that we have in the district, they're little to none. If our students graduated in 4 years, what are they supposed to do at 18? There's nothing really for a lot of our students to do. For the ones that can come up and have a great conversation with you and can do, of course, we can try our best to get them a job. But here's the problem with getting them a job. We have to find employers that understand how to work with our students. And that's hard. Because people, a lot of times in businesses, they have this conception of how people should act, how they want them to understand, and how they want them to just their particular work ethic. And that's the only thing they have in their heads. So what we do with our employees and our students, we take a large majority of them out into the district, into the community, and we get them non-paid jobs. How cool is that? People get a chance to see, oh, well, you don't make any more mistakes than my typical employees. And you're here every day. Our students, that's one of the best things. I've talked to, this summer, talked to one of the employees, one of the employers over at Winston-Salem State. He said, I just want to let you know the student's name, that you sent over and has been here forever. They've been here for 7 years and only missed 1 day. Can you imagine? I've never been in a job for 7 years and only missed 1 day. Because sometimes I just want to take a mental day and do nothing. 7 years and 1 day absent because they just have in their mind, this is what the expectations are, this is what I'm supposed to do, and I do it. So taking them out into the community and introducing them to, like we have some of our students work at the Dollar Tree, I believe it's on Renolda. And really and truthfully, believe it or not, when the teacher told me he has a job full-time with no job coach, I almost called her a liar. I really did. I said, I don't believe it. Because I remember the student he was when he first walked through the door. And we're still trying to teach him about personal hygiene. We're teaching him the concept of this is a quarter. this is $1. And then now you're running a cash register independently. No way. So what did I do? I got in my car and went over to see. I could not believe it. And as soon as I walked in, he was so excited. So excited. He still remembered me. He's not full-time, but he's part-time, but still, some of us, I want 40 hours a week because I want this amount on my paycheck. Our students are happy to work 3 days a week. We have another student, she loved McDonald's. We didn't know what this baby was going to do. Mother and father said, don't worry about it. She's just going to stay at home and be our baby for the rest of her life. Absolutely not. No, she's not. You're not going to hide her away in her room and let her play with baby dolls all day. She's 21 years old. It's time for her to do something else. Our job is to make sure that our students are as independent as possible. So believe it or not, I have some of the best employees in the district. The teacher tapped into the one thing that she loved, which is toys out of the McDonald's box. She called the McDonald's over on Peters Creek. That young lady works 2 times a week for 2 hours, and she's the one that puts all of the McDonald's boxes together, puts the toy in there, and stacks them up. You talk about fulfillment. You talk about just a huge accomplishment. That young lady, amazing. And that's what we do at Carter. We tap into the things that our students enjoy. Instead of saying what they can't do, let's find 1 or 2 things that they can do. 1 or 2 things that they enjoy doing. Now let's find employers that will take that chance. And understanding that, no, after I finish wiping down all of these tables, I might not know you and come to you and say, I'm done. What would you like for me to do next? It is retraining the employer to say, okay, after you've realized Shaunne has finished washing down all of the chairs and tables, and you see she's standing in the middle of the floor, what should you do next to help them become a better employee? And how that starts, it starts from that 1 to 8 year span. It starts from us taking different types of analysis and everything of what the students are capable of, where we can work with, and then it takes us going out to the communities. It takes us talking to employers, getting them to make to allowing us to have a chance, talking to the corporate offices, because sometimes like even 66 might say, sure, the manager say, sure, come on in. But when they present that idea to corporate says, oh no, absolutely not. So then I'm like, okay, so who do we need to talk to in corporate? Oh, they're not in Winston-Salem? They're in North Dakota? Okay, so either phone number, MS Teams, Zoom, what do we need to do next? Because we have to learn to open up our ideas. Sometimes the brick walls happen with parents. So what we've done this year, of course it was a pandemic, it was rough. It was rough being a first year principal during a pandemic. Oh gosh, that's a whole nother topic. I'll get to that in a second. But bringing the parents, I was able to hire a parent involvement coordinator. So getting that parent involvement coordinator to have meetings with parents to say, look, this is what Shaunne can do. And parents are like, I'm not letting Shaunne cook on the stove. Well, why not? I mean, we didn't say allow her to cook a gourmet meal. We just said throw some stuff out on the table that you don't want to eat anyway and let her choose. If it's nasty, hey, she's going to be the one that's eating it. You don't have to take one bite and pretend like it's good. Parents are pretty good at that. So getting parents too to open up their minds and realize that just because they may have one arm or one leg or they're visually impaired, that does not mean that we should keep them locked in a room. That's what we have to do. So thinking about backtracking a little bit and talking about being a first year principal during a pandemic, I was talking to Mr. Johnson before we started. I want to say, if you talked to me in March, I would have said, holy smokes, Batman. Do I want to go back into the classroom? This was rough. Actually, guys, the last 24 hours has been the hardest time for me to get a principal. Yesterday, I had 5 people to quit. Okay. 5 people to quit at a school where we have intensive needs, it's huge. It's huge. We have 16 teachers, 7 elective teachers, and 54 teaching assistants. I'll have to tell you, those 54 teaching assistants, they are a huge deal in my building. They help keep the whole machine running. The teachers have all of the paperwork, and they have to teach. Our teaching assistants have to teach, but they manage behaviors, they manage personal hygiene, they're calling parents, they're running up and down the hallways. They are just doing so many different things. So for me to lose, I told you I lost 5 of them yesterday. 2 teachers, 3 teaching assistants. On top of that, I already had 7 openings. So I'm not one that really cries. I'm one that always pre-plans. So I always have a plan A through D. Well, yesterday, I realized I needed plan E through Z. So, of course, I had to complain first, so I had to call her mother and I had to do a little bit of complaining. So after 5 minutes, I said, okay, Mommy, I'm done. I said, I'll call you back. She was like, but wait. And we're on Marco Polo, so we're on Google Duo, so we're looking at each other. I'm like, Mommy, I gotta go. She was like, but I was like, I gotta go plan. Got off the phone. I put all of my staffing needs on Indeed, Facebook. It's called Next Door. It's like one of the neighborhood things that we have. I put it on Next Door. By 11 o'clock, I had 7 people I needed to call between 9 and 11 o'clock this morning. Of the 7 people, I hired 5. And they're from all walks. I even had a teacher to say, you know what, I just need a fresh start. I want to be your TA. And that's not the hard part, but she said, you know what, I gave her a listing of the openings. She said, I want to be a TA in your severe and profound. And if you really know, severe and profound is the hardest room to fill because you spend so much time with personal care needs, you almost feel like you're not teaching. It's a lot of hand over hand, and they're not necessarily communicating the way you think in your mind how we communicate back and forth. So what we do is we provide so many, like if you come into our school, there will be a device on every person's table. Because if I'm asking questions and you don't have a voice, my expectation is still for you to answer my question. So either you need to do it verbally or you need to do it with your hand, or someone is going to stand beside you and they're going to either hold a card, yes or no, or we're going to push a button, yes or no. And it's pretty cool. I'm pretty big about if you're identifying as a guy, then when he pushes something, it needs to be a guy's voice. Now that's how we're going to do things because, and we also have buttons to say, I don't want to answer your question because they're teenagers. How many teenagers just look at you like, or they say, I don't know. So we have a I don't know button, because I want them to have that experience. Be insubordinate. Why not? We all get a chance, and like I tell our staff, a lot of times they kind of get upset when they're like, they're just screaming at the top of their lungs. And I'm like, how many times would you just love to go outside or be in the classroom right where you're upset? I'm upset right here. I don't want to go out the door and scream. I want to scream right here where whoever made me mad. I say they get that opportunity. We can't do it because we're grown. The expectations are different. So we give them those opportunities. The things that I'm always having to justify with our school, because we are the only high school in Winston-Salem and Forsyth County schools that service only students with special needs. So that's why they call us non-traditional schools. Imagine how hard it is to get a budget and they're like, you need to buy all of your instructional tools with this little bit of money. And I'm like, well, here are the devices we need. Devices? Where are your biology books and your English books? I don't need those. I need devices. Where you want me to spend money on biology books that are $50, okay? My devices are about $3,500 a piece. And they're like, you're not getting it. I'm used to hearing no. I really am. I'm used to hearing no. I've been hearing no for so long, but my job as a principal is to advocate and ask for it. So once I hear that no, that's fine, hang up the phone, and I'm calling the next people. We're doing donors choose, talking to teachers. Who wants to write the next grant? I'll give you this comp time. I'll give you even more comp time if you get the grant. Who can we talk to in the community? It's hard to say, in this instructional budget, I need bibs with a backing so that the students' clothes don't get saturated. So that's things that we can't buy with an instructional budget. So what do? We go out and one of our employees' mother said, I'm sitting at home bored to death. How about let's get you some fabric, we can make these for us. Yep, sure will. And it's the little things. A student being able to get off the bus and not be wet. I remember one of the things before Ms. Blackweather left, one of the things that I severely hate is to see a student get off the bus in a wheelchair and it's raining. We can hold an umbrella, or we can choose not to. They can't. So while we're locking them down, because heaven forbid you don't lock them down all the way, or you're going to get in all kinds of trouble. So you lock them down on the lift, and they're coming down, and to me it seems like a lifetime it takes them to get down. It's probably less than 10 seconds. But coming to Karen and her staff and saying, I would love to have something built, something made on the back of these chairs that keep these kids from getting wet. Well, that sounds good, but everything costs money. And when I worked at Glenn, I had at least $200,000 to spend, okay? I just got our budget before I sat down. We have a $7,500 budget. Yep. And I won't really get into the political reasons why, that kind of feels funny, but because our school is so different and we don't bring in the revenue like other schools, that's why our budget is a lot different. But guess what? The way you see me now, this is the way you see my staff. We smile every single day. Amidst everything else, all of the issues, we coming into school on the 16th, hopefully I'll be fully staffed, but if not, guess what? We'll make it work. And we're gonna make it work with a smile on my face. Because that's what our students need. They need us. And we really need them. We really do. I could go on and on about the successes of Carter High School, but I would just love for you all to just come by and see us. Just come take a walk through and see for yourselves. Because my words could never truly explain to you the greatness that goes on at 851 Highland Court. We are a Kennedy campus, so we're with the Career Center. We have our brand new school, it's still brand new to me, brand new school, and then we have Kennedy, which is getting ready to go through renovations. So our students get a chance to take some of the inclusive classes like construction or auto mechanics, and they take teaching assistants with them to help modify the curriculum to make sure that they can adapt and they can still be included and still, do some of the work. And believe it or not, the year before last, in auto mechanics, they let one of the students crank the car to move it a little bit. Totally their fault, because he wrecked the car. Now, mind you, they never told me. Career Center students work on our cars. So if you needed an oil change, you just put it over there, give them the key. I don't know whose car he wrecked. They said, so what are you gonna tell his parents? I'm gonna tell his parents if you let him move the car. I didn't tell you to let him move the car. What I'm supposed to do? Y'all go to the collision department, fix the car. So, and they did, but I was like, we kind of laughed about it. We do have a few students that have gotten their license. Wow. So that's interesting. That's a whole nother story in itself. But we've gotten the school system to open up their eyes and see what our students can be, what they can do. With our support, now it's time to get the community to do the same.
Let me ask you two questions. One is, do you have any type of volunteer opportunities there? And my second question is, if there's one need, what is your biggest need?
Oh, that is a genie in a bottle question. Okay, so do we have, let's go with the easy. Do we have volunteer opportunities? We always have volunteer opportunities. We have volunteer, well, pre-COVID, we had, some great ones. Now we're just trying to see how open the school system is gonna allow us to be. But we have opportunities during Special Olympics, most definitely, to come out and escort students to their different events. Because we have bowling and track and field. So getting them to their different events and making sure you stand there with them, or if you're feeling, great that day, and you want to get a few extra steps, you can do, they do walk runs where really, our students are really walking the whole time, and it's just basically giving them total encouragement to walk from this wall to this wall. Regardless if they finish first or fifth, they're super happy. There's a smile on their face at all times. So you match their energy. We have times in the building where we have like multicultural events and just coming in and possibly being, you could cook the food and bring it in. So like, let's say you're doing one from, let's see, one of the last ones we had, Panama. And then we had Panama, one classroom was Panama, one classroom was the Philippines, then over here you had Jamaica, and it's just opportunities to come in and have a good time. So most of our volunteer, 99% of our volunteer experiences are having a good time. It's not like real work. It is never real work. Now, there are of course some opportunities to come in and volunteer during lunch and feed, because our teachers don't have that, a lot of that duty-free time, because it's always all hands on deck. So just to come in and sit around and talk, or come in and sit around and, sometimes come in and talking to the young ladies or the young men. We have a girls talk group and a boys to men group. So having those opportunities just to come in here and talk to them, or to provide them with a shirt and tie. Show them how to tie a tie. They're so excited. Or the ones that can't tie a tie, show them how to use a clipboard. Because they have to go to job interviews, and a lot of our students just don't have it. They just don't have it. A lot of our young ladies, they've never had on a dress. So just for them to put on a dress, like during prom, we do their hair, guys, we do their nails. I think we've done everything except for their feet. We've given them baths, we've done all of these things just to prepare them for an event that they will remember for the rest of their lives. So those are the type of volunteer opportunities we have. If there were one need, so the one thing I could think of, I would love to have someone that we could actually partnership with. We have sometimes, like this year we had BB&T and Truist come through. And because of COVID, they couldn't come into the building, but they also weren't allowed to partnership with us. So they came in with a one-time donation of, we had 2 copiers in the building and 4 working printers. Now, we print IEPs every day, and every IEP is at least 8 pages. And heaven forbid, mom and daddy don't live together, you gotta give mom one and daddy one, that's 160 pages. Well, the paper is easy to get. The ink is not easy to get. So I told BB&T gave us 5 printers. I fought like cats and dogs to get the school system to link them to the school system, because at first they told me no. I got about 5 no's, and finally I said, well, I'm gonna send one email to about 12 people to see how many times they tell me no. I got a yes, but now we don't have any ink. And we don't have the money. Like, I didn't realize in fighting for these spectacular machines, the ink was like $300. I said, good gracious, yes. And like I said, I have a $7,500 budget. We don't need a lot of books. We don't need, we do have things that we use online. We have devices that, our speech pathologists use with our students, but it's the behind the scenes things that we need, or it's the things that make the teachers feel good. I don't have a PTA. I have one on paper. Because we're supposed to. I have 3 parents. 3 parents. So when it comes to teacher appreciation, it comes out of my pocket. It comes out of my AP's pocket. This year, we bought something for everybody on staff. all 5 days. Even though we only went to school 4 days, on Friday, I gave him 2 things. And that was on top of also finding free things to give. You know, so a lot of times people love their time back. You know what, everybody, y'all leave today. Today it's gonna be office staff and other support staff, and we're gonna take care of all of the kids. Luckily, it was during the pandemic, we only had about 67 kids to get home. That was an interesting day. Whew, trying to get everybody home when we sent the entire staff home. So for them to get off at 3:45 instead of 4:15, at 30 minutes, I got more feedback, I think, from the 30 minutes than the meals I gave them. So, I know that was more than one thing, but yes, those are the things that we do.
How long has this school been in existence?
Oh, he got me.
Okay.
C. Douglas
We're
Carter.
gonna go back to Main
Yeah, Main Street, it used to be called South Park,
South Park Vocation.
and that was before I was born.
That was when I was born.
The 80s.
Yes, and then it was Forsyth
It's been a while.
Vocational,
Yeah, it used to be on Main Street, and then they completely
And-
different building. Yeah,
then it
yeah,
was
South
Carter
Side.
Vocational, and now we're Carter High School.
Yeah,
And I should know that question, and I'm,
Okay.
you knew.
yeah, that's what I'm gonna claim. Right.
Who was
Long
that?
time.
That was a long time.
Well.
Yeah, it's
It was a little.
it's well over 50 years.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
well over 50 years.
Okay.
And I want to say one thing about this, that I don't know if any of you all, I may be wrong, so I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. Many of the people here have heard of the Children's Center
Yeah.
or the
Special.
Special Children's School. And those schools actually serve our community, Forsyth County, until age 5th grade?
5th grade.
5th grade. And then the students are kind of, well, I hate to say tested, but their programs are identified, and some of them go to different areas of the community, sometimes the local schools. However, I always think of, because I used to work for years at the Children's Center, as harder as for the older kids.
Mhm.
And many of those same students have come from the Children's Center, which is on Coliseum Drive, or the one on Shaunne Road. So there's a long history of serving students in our community who have all types of abilities and needs. And it really goes back to the Children's Center, Carter Voc,
Yeah.
and just watching these children who are tiny grow up and become young adults and into our community.
One of the things, and I'm sure you all might hear about a little bit of fuss once school starts, especially if you have children and grandchildren that might start talking, so it might be a time for you all to explain some things. This is the first year that because I've lost 5 teachers, but not just because they quit. They are now working in the typical schools, so the 2 high schools are Mount Tabor and Walkertown. They took some of my students and they said, you know what? It's time to take the functional program and put it back into the schools. So the students don't have to ride all the way from the Mount Tabor area, because now we go all the way back to Tobaccoville, all the way out to the last point of Kernersville. And they're bused all the way to Martin Luther King. So some of our students get on the bus 6:50, some of them get on at 6:30. Well, no, they don't get on. I think 6:50 is the earliest time our students get on the bus. So now they're starting to get this opportunity to go out into the high schools. It's very scary for us. It's very scary for us to let go, because sensitivity has to be taught. It's not an innate characteristic, unfortunately. So for schools that have never had students in the building that look, walk, talk, act like our students, they don't need stairs, they need a friend. You know, it's okay to ask questions, but students need to know it's okay to ask questions. They need to know it's okay to be a buddy. It's okay to, want to help but not help. So it's scary. So I've had to let 5 of my teachers and 10 of my teaching assistants go to make sure that the programs at Walkertown High School, Mount Tabor High School, the new school, Louisville Middle, and Melhart Middle are going to make great things happen. And eventually it's going to continue to grow into the other schools. But it's very scary. I have a meeting today at 2 with a couple of the principals, and they're really worried about the graduation rate, which I don't have to worry about. You know, they have to worry about the graduation rate, you know, so they have to worry about testing, you know, and how our students are gonna affect their testing scores. Because when people think about schools, I wanna go to the A school. Your school is a D, I can't go to your school, my child has to go over here. Well, the more students you put in their building,
Get them up there.
I know,
Right.
but principals are really scared about that, because in the community, a lot of the people within that community expect you to maintain those grades of a school, not knowing what those grades mean, not knowing all of the things that, you know, encompass that particular grade, so it's scary. So I have to talk to principals today to try to alleviate their fear, and it's not, but I'm gonna talk to them. Any other questions?
You just made a comment that, I was just gonna say, don't want to get on my bandwagon again, but back when I was at the Nova Rotary back around 2000, the best thing that club did for the members was when they partnered up with Cook Elementary. Okay? I didn't know anything about these schools. I'm saying that if you're in a Rotary Club and you want to energize your membership, and I'm saying Clemens and West and all do it together, the door is open. The door is open.
Come see us anytime. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Like I said, I could talk for hours, so y'all might.
Yeah, of course you could.
All right, folks, thank you, Shaunne, so much for coming. Please stop by anytime you want to if you ever want to watch it on us.
All right, yay.
I was going to close the meeting.